let's not.
At least 50% of his class has his grade or lower. He is moving towards everything race.
And the police comes and they say, well, we can't do anything.
Of course, all opinions are my own, not my employer's.
Period. Hello, hello, hello. It is Wednesday, and you know what Wednesdays are. It's Pop and Politics. Welcome to another episode. I'm KJ, and without further ado, let me introduce you to my beautiful co-hosts. All right, we have Yana, we have T, hi. We have Xandria, and Shelly E.
Hi, peeps.
All right, we have an action-packed show for you tonight. I'm going to basically go right into what we're talking about. Today, we are going to be discussing we have an exclusive interview with Dr. Humphrey. We're starting off the top of the hour with that, with Dr. Humphrey. He is the owner and CEO of the Baltimore Crisis Response Team. Baltimore Trauma Response Team. And he has been doing this for several years. We're going to talk with him and why he has not been included thus far in the mayor's violence prevention plan. We are also talking about Kamala Harris. This was a viewer question that we are going to be discussing tonight. Viewer wanted to talk about Kamala's role in the Biden administration, and has she been getting too much criticism as her role in what she's been doing as the VP. So we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, we are also going to talk about, as far as roles are concerned, the church's role. Are they leading us morally and biblically, or are they a little bit more secular these days and really involved with entertainment and responding and leading us on the entertainment path? So those are the topics today. All right. Again, you can join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Follow Metro Conservative Media for more great content and notifications of new videos. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. So hit that like button, guys. We got an action-packed show for you today, as I mentioned, and you will want to be in the know when we post content. All right, so ladies, let's set it off. We will get right into it with Dr. Humphreys.
I'm considered their number one staunch partner. I'm the longest chaplain.
Baltimore City officials continue to use the services of the trauma response team, such as setting up training for the police officers and requesting the presence of Dr. Humphrey at their campaign events. Mayor Brendan Scott has recently unveiled the Baltimore City Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan, which specifically focuses on trauma reduction and calls for collaboration with community-based organizations. The Trauma Response Team is exactly the type of organization that the citizens of Baltimore need.
I contacted Ms. Jackson, and she told me that she would let me know when the application was available.
Fox 45 did a story on Dr. Humphrey and the Trauma Response Team's interaction with Councilman Zeke Cohen, but they fell short on reporting that Dr. Humphrey has been stonewalled by the mayor's office and was denied an application for funding.
And I haven't heard from her.
And that was it?
That was it. Until we go on the news again.
We, as concerned citizens who want to see a positive change in Baltimore City, think that it's outrageous that an organization that has been servicing the vulnerable population of Baltimore since the 1990s is now being suffocated by bureaucracy and nepotism of the city officials.
I'm not a kiss me up. I don't kiss up to people. I do what God calls me to do. And they look out for their homeboys, their homegirls, their boyfriends, and their lovers. And I'm not with that. I'm in a class of my own.
The city administration claims to be working with the community groups, but they only work with those groups and individuals that would never have anything negative to say about the mayor and his team. These people represent the Democrat Party, but where's the democracy in their behavior? Mayor Scott's violence prevention plan aims to bring down the number of violent incidents in the city, but the mayor cares more about optics than people's lives.
Well, I have a program that I'm going to reveal after the mayor talks about his 3-tier plan. Mine has a proven track record to work. I don't know what they have.
If the mayor's office really cared about the lives of people in Baltimore, they would support such organizations as Dr. Humphrey's Trauma Response Team, which has been servicing the city for over 30 years.
There's only one Baltimore trauma response team in this city, and that's me.
All right, Dr. Humphrey, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We are very excited to talk with you this evening. As you mentioned in the video, we know that you have been putting in the work for Baltimore City for many, many years. And first, I want to start off by thanking you for all the time, energy, prayers, organization that you have put together for the citizens of Baltimore and probably surrounding areas. What I want to first ask you is what is it about? What is it that you offer? What services, specific services that you offer for trauma response that is not being done via the city violence prevention plan now or currently? I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Dr. Humphrey?
Okay, we might have to. I don't think you can hear us.
Having a little technical difficulty here. We're gonna get this right.
So
This is
before
kind
you
of
come
a
back,
follow-up, from what you were talking about a couple weeks ago
Right.
with the violence prevention plan.
Right. So the violence prevention plan, as Dr. Humphrey mentioned in the video, can you hear us now, Dr. Humphrey? So the violence prevention plan has 3 pillars, and the pillars are supposed to be the undergirding or how this plan is carried out. So the 3 pillars are, in a nutshell, public health approach to violence. That's number 1. Number 2 is the community engagement and the interagency collaboration. And then number 3, the pillar is evaluation and accountability. So from what I understand about the Dr. Humphrey's organization, he would fall under this pillar 2, this community engagement, which seeks to involve neighborhoods and communities, organizations that will have a direct impact in the community on violence prevention, particularly keeping young people out of the system, engaging them, or preventing the people from even having an incident that would cause them to be arrested or to be placed in prison.
Yes, so they come if there's a traumatic situation, if there's a shooting, or even things like fire, and the police come to investigate what happened. His team also comes at the same time, and they talk with people who are involved, with witnesses, and they make sure that kind of the situation doesn't escalate. If there's no further violence. Also, they follow up with people afterwards. They also work with the homeless population and with children who are struggling with homelessness or trauma. And they talk with, for example, they will go to the school and they will set up counseling for the child, and then they will follow up with this child to see how things are going.
So how is it different from the trauma response team that they have implemented recently, Mayor Scott?
Well, I think they're still gathering organizations right now, and I'm not saying that I do not know who they're gathering right now, but they are
People
not
from the community.
But they're not involving him.
They're not involving him, and that's what I would like to ask. We want to ask Dr. Humphrey what's different about his program that the Trauma Informed Care Task Force, which is Baltimore City's task force, what's different? Now, we know that Dr. Humphrey's program has been around well before this Trauma Informed Care.
They're probably mimicking a lot of this new program after what
and
he
they're
built.
using his training. So
but they're not paying.
They're still using his training. And the task force is really comprised of different organizations, of leaders of different organizations. So they used him as a prop for their campaign. They made it seem like they will include him in their task force. But then when he asked for an application for funding to continue his program, he didn't even receive the application.
So from my understanding, the people that are on the task force, they aren't getting paid. They're volunteers. They're people in the community that
well, they're not getting paid for
being
being on the task force, but their programs receive funding. So we do not know where the funding is coming from exactly, but like he was receiving funding through Johns Hopkins University, but that ended. So he's been asking the city to direct him to where he can apply for funding, how to continue his organization. So they are still using his services, so train police officers how to respond to these traumatic situations better. And
they're not paying him?
No.
Well, let me just back up for something you said, because you said that he was brought in front of the cameras with, of course, Councilman Cohen and the mayor. So basically, they're using his street cred and for legitimacy, but they're actually not paying him. But one thing I want to ask you, Shelly, is the community organizations that are partnering with the mayor on the violence prevention plan, how are they funded?
So that is a very important question that I still have not gotten an answer to. As best as I can determine is that because this is a network of groups and organizations that are being overseen by MONSE, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhoods and Engagement, something. MONSE is sort of the gateway of the city agency gateway that's overseeing all of these networks and organizations. Some of the funding will be private and some of it most definitely will be taxpayer funded, but there's still no specificity. I even went through the MONSE website again today and was looking for more information. I did get some responses back from my emails a couple of weeks ago, finally, after I mentioned it last week that I had not gotten a response. Well, this week I got a couple of responses. There was still no specificity in the emails. There was no clarity. It basically said, thank you for contacting us. We're working on it. You know, the transparency, we want to be transparent. You know, all the, the claptrap. Yeah, exactly, the fluff.
The automated response.
Pretty much, right? But from 3 different people, I got a response that basically said that. But there's nothing on the website. There's no breakdown of the financials, the accountability, the transparency. It's all fluff at this point. Still at this point, it's fluff.
It seems like they're not even seeing these programs through themselves if they don't have.
Well, remember, this plan is a 5-year program, or a 5-year plan.
Never thought it through.
And so this first year is just a foundational year. Over 5 years, which will probably go into 7 and 9 and things like that. So this funding is going to be intermittent, and overlapping along these 5 years. So these are the key questions that we need to ask and that we still don't have answers to.
And he's been asking, he wants to continue working with the community, and he contacted Shantae Jackson
at MONSE. She's the director.
And she basically said, well, I will email you the application.
So
application for what?
So
on
MONSE's website,
he has not received
on MONSE's website, there is an application there's an application link. When you click it, it's blank. And it says it's blank because it closed back in May. The application process or time frame closed back in May. So the application doesn't even come up. It just says this application, the period is closed. The applying period is closed.
Application to be a part of
to be one of the networks, one of the organizations that would be under this umbrella of Muncie and possibly receive the publicity and the funding and the support for your program. So as best as I can tell, it sounds like Dr. Humphrey's program is not even considered. He's not even, this violence plan this is the final copy. His program is not in here. So it's very unlikely that he's not going to get anything, at least not this year.
So did they list the organizations that are?
Oh, this plan has a lot of those alphabet groups all throughout it, sprinkled all through it. So the people that are in here, and remember, there's always a caveat in almost in 99.99% of any government plan. There's always a caveat. This plan can be amended.
So the question is then, the plan basically, I guess what you're saying is the government organizes. So if something happens in regards to violence within the city, the government, his violence prevention plan is basically, they start there and then they kind of send people out within these two community organizations to get services, but they have no control over these community organizations. So if a community organization breaks down or they're not doing their job, where's the
oversight?
Right.
Muncie is the gateway. You have to basically get the stamp of approval from Muncie to be in this plan, right? If you don't have Muncie's stamp of approval, then you're not in the plan, number one. Number two, being in this plan means that you at least have some, a credibility. You get the referral for the services that are needed, throughout the community.
Dr. Humphrey's organization is all over Baltimore. They're in every district. They have people literally on the ground going, talking to people, offering their services. There's actually training coming up on the 21st of this month, which I'm going to participate.
Good.
And there's volunteer, he's always looking for volunteers.
What's this organization's name?
Baltimore Trauma Response
Team. And so, I can show you this. Also, he has been around, he's worked with the juvenile justice system. He he started this organization because he has experienced trauma. And that's actually his son,
who was murdered
with President Bush, the senior, and I don't know if
he looked like Denzel.
And he was 23 when he was killed. And so Dr. Humphrey himself went through a tremendous trauma, and he was dealing with the emotional effects of that. And when he was able to overcome and recover from his trauma, he felt that he needed to offer these kind of services to other people so they don't become re-traumatized over and over. And he sees a lot of people coming up to him that he helped, saying, I'm doing good right now, this is my family. And he sees the results.
He's made an impact in their lives.
He's back.
Yeah, and we have a question up there. It says, are true community solutions being abandoned by the Baltimore city government? And I would say absolutely, which is part of why, I always say the community has to rise up and stand for themselves. And it's sad when you see people like Dr. Humphrey who are doing just that, but they can't get the funding behind them that they need.
And he can't even get a response.
Right. And the problem is that the government also makes people reliant on grants in order to move their organizations forward. And I always think that's such a disservice to these organizations, because the grants are they can take them away at any time. They can give them and get them away.
Who, the organization?
Well, I'm just saying, I think this is part of why the community has to get so involved, and why it's important to get donors and donations so that they're not reliant on government grants alone.
Oh, you mean government grants?
Government grants.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to start raising money for this organization, and we have a GoFundMe page. I don't know if we can get it on the screen. So we ask everyone.
GoFundMe. GoFund.me.
Can you see?
And we'll post the link.
I have a comment I wanted to make. I know Dr. Humphrey in the video, well, I know he had mentioned before in talking to him, he was initially funded by Johns Hopkins,
Yes.
some aspect of Johns Hopkins. And so because this plan has one of the pillars is the public health, because crime is now seen as a public health crisis. So if you think about it from a political PR standpoint, Johns Hopkins is going to go where they can get the most bang for their buck as well. So now, I don't know this for sure, but my best guess is Johns Hopkins is now aligned with the Muncie grid, if you will, so that the services that are needed for trauma victims will be they can be directly sent to Johns Hopkins. Of course, Johns Hopkins is world renowned, right?
And when I go to Johns Hopkins University page, they actually mention Safe Streets on their page when they talk about community response to trauma. And we know about Safe Streets that they actually take criminals and put them back on the streets, and they're actually not that helpful in many ways. So they but they are supported by the mayor's office.
Right.
And so they are now mentioned on even Johns Hopkins website, but his organization is completely being pushed aside, and he's been around for so long.
Yeah.
He works with churches. He also has the spiritual aspect.
Yeah, he seems to be independent of government and the political games, like you said in the clip earlier. He refuses to play the
Can I make a
political
really
game.
quick point? We were actually talking about it earlier with Stephen. He was saying that, part of why probably Dr. Humphrey isn't getting included in all of this is because his mission doesn't have the word equity in it, and that's one of the things that a lot of the organizations that the local city governments get behind, their mission statements, not what they do, but their mission statements pander to people. They pander to particular groups. They sound good on paper, but the people that are actually doing the work, the grassroots, the people that are doing the work,
because
they don't get the funding.
Asking for the word equity to be included in the mission statement of each organization that is part of that task force. And
if we had Dr. Humphrey, one of my questions I asked, have written down for him was, is his organization effective enough where they have the things in place to actually apply for these grants correctly? So I know that he does the work. I'm not doubting his work, but are they equipped and able to actually apply according to the guidelines of the application? Did he actually apply?
He actually saw the application, and that's a good question. I would like to see what their criteria is.
Right.
And but at this point, we have not seen the application.
And you probably won't, because it's closed and it's off the website, and it didn't even say when the next open period will be. So it will probably sometime next year. But for right now, the application is not, at least it's not on the website.
Yeah, because they flaunted this man out in front of the cameras. They made it seem like that he was the trauma man. He was the trauma response team for Baltimore City. And yet they don't include him in the program. It makes no sense to me.
So they used him to get support of the people of Baltimore to vote for the politicians in, saying, look, we work with Dr. Humphrey. We know him, we're with him, so support us. And when people do support them, then they forget about Dr. Humphrey and his organization.
Not forget, they go towards someone
who is more established,
right?
Or someone that they know, or they choose to.
And most people usually they want to see the data. They want to see they want to see how you capture the data and of the people that you're helping and the demographics of you're helping. If I wonder, that's a question I wanted to ask for him. Like, how does he capture that information?
And
but most importantly,
we'll have to bring him back. Another time.
Have to bring him back. I've actually worked on Baltimore County crisis response for many years ago, but I did. And I understand that crisis response, trauma response is very, very important and a very important key to stop and preventing violence, domestic violence, gun violence, So we definitely support him and hope to get him back on. Technical difficulties kind of prevented that today.
GoFundMe page. Okay.
Yeah, please promote and share his page and consider donating as well.
And he's been around for what, 30 years?
30 plus years.
This is real impact.
Yeah, so right now we think that it's the private sector that's going to be, not responsible, but basically responsive to what he needs, because right now the public sector is not supporting him. So we are asking anyone who is concerned about Baltimore City and the citizens of Baltimore who need these types of services to go on to please donate to the GoFundMe page. He has a Facebook page, so we can share that as well. So you see it on the screen. So please go there, check him out, and check the GoFundMe link.
All right. Well, again, we will definitely continue to follow Dr. Humphrey and how he's going about seeing if he actually can get into the mayor's violence prevention plan. All right. So again, we thank you so much for watching. Please continue to watch. Join the conversation. We check the comments throughout the broadcast. So please leave a comment on our Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube page. Also follow Metro Conservative Media for more great content and notifications of new videos. Subscribe. So we are definitely, this was an exclusive interview that we had today. So it would definitely be something that you would want to be in the know about. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Okay, so we are still moving right along. We want to definitely talk about our Declare It a Crisis Baltimore campaign. This is a campaign that we launched about the beginning of the year, where we highlight and spotlight violence going on in Baltimore City. We want to raise awareness regarding this. So all of our social media, and we ask that you too hashtag Declare It a Crisis Baltimore. We are highlighting and want to raise awareness regarding murders in the Baltimore area, and especially when we lose youth and young adults. So continue to raise awareness regarding that. All right, we are moving right along to our next topic. All right, so our next topic, we're excited about. This is a viewer question. So one of our viewers, Mia, reached out to us, as I always ask you guys to do. If you have a question or you want to get us to answer something, send us a question via kj@metroconservativemedia.com or info@metroconservativemedia.com, and we will be sure to address it on the show. So Mia reached out and she wants to talk about VP Kamala Harris's role within the Biden administration. So we know she was tasked at basically monitoring the border crossing, so trying to get a handle on that. But she's been kind of partnered with Biden, and we want to know, has she gotten a raw deal with being partnered with President Biden as his VP? Has she gotten a raw deal? She's gotten some flack recently. Is she being unfairly judged? As far as her responses.
And can I read her question?
Yeah, sure.
So she had said, "Hi, I'm an independent who loves watching your channels. Your conversations are making me look into conservative politics. I have a couple of questions and I'd love to hear your thoughts." And by the way, Mia, we're going to answer your second question in the chat, which was about how to get in touch with different political candidates and officials that she's having trouble reaching. So back to this question, she said, conservative media has been attacking Kamala Harris a lot. She was put in charge of diplomatic efforts when it comes to the border. I'm disappointed in how the administration is handling the border, and I believe that they're leaving Texans vulnerable to crime and illegal immigration. Her public answers are embarrassing, and her approval/disapproval rates are amongst the American public proves that. However, I can't imagine how hard it would be for a first-time VP to serve under a man who is on a downward spiral. Do you believe Kamala deserves a little more empathy?
No.
So, I'll just start by saying you can have empathy for someone and still be critical of them and still critique them. You know, I can have empathy for anybody that works with Biden to an extent, but I don't think Kamala really gets, you know, I don't have too much empathy for her because of a few reasons. So first of all, she actually has her position because of Biden. If you remember when she was campaigning, she actually
she didn't get much support
from
her party.
Yeah, from her party, not from Biden, and she dropped out of the race very early on. She was not among the popular Democratic candidates.
Not at all.
I believe she dropped out knowing that they would ask her to become VP candidate.
Could very well
she
be.
got a facelift right after she dropped out. So that was my
could very well be. I don't know about it. Yeah.
Her face changed?
No.
I want to say something about this word. I want to go back to this word empathy. First of all, none of us can have empathy for her because none of us has ever been a vice president. That's number one. So the word choice is wrong. We may have sympathy for her, but not empathy. They mean two different things. And I think
Wait.
hold on. I mean, they mean two different things.
Empathy and sympathy are different.
Right, I know that. But empathy means can we relate to her and
right and having some similar experience. We don't. We have never been vice president. So that's number one. So the word choice is incorrect. Number one, which makes the whole premise wrong. Number two, you can sympathize with them, but we've never been in her position to have that empathy from a vice presidential standpoint. But number two, and more importantly, why is it assumed that she is a victim? She knew exactly what she was getting into. Like you said, they very well could have asked her to step aside because they were going to do this arrangement. Number two, she's not a dumb woman. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's been in politics. This is what we call politics, people. This is what we call politics. So any other vice president, had it not been a woman and maybe not even a Black woman, this question probably would not apply. So, no one gave the same quote unquote empathy to Vice President Pence. To Pence, and even to whomever else. George Bush when he was vice president. No one gave that empathy. It was not an automatic given because this was the first time.
Well, let me just ask Yana first. So, firstly, do you agree with Shelly's approach about
why you gonna ask Yana? What is she? Oh, she's a school teacher.
Spread the love.
What I want to say about empathy is that I've heard that word so many times from the left. They like to use it. It's like a buzzword.
It's used in customer service too. Yeah, it is. It's used in customer service.
Okay.
It's actually used in crisis response.
It is used a lot, but it's incorrect in this case.
Yes, that's true. But in my experience, I heard it a lot in addressing me, saying that I'm not empathetic enough because I don't know, I don't support certain social programs or something like that. So I have to feel, but
emotional.
Yeah, but
that's what it is.
I can feel sympathy or empathy for someone, but not for her.
Right.
Because I mean, looking at who she is and what she stood for. So like she supported Bernie Sanders and his plan. So it makes her Marxist. She supports abortion and Planned Parenthood organization, which we just recently, it's been finally revealed widespread that they harvest organs from late-term abortions, and she supports them. She called the border wall a vanity project. And when we have human trafficking, terrorism, drugs, criminals, and also citizens are hurt, the ones that live by the border, and she calls that a vanity project. So, and then she flip-flopped on a lot of things. So like her
she flip-flopped on 46. She called him a racist during the primaries, during the debate.
Back to the question. What do we need empathy? What do we need to
Why?
press?
Yeah.
Why?
Because she is working with the declining president.
She chose to do that.
Right, I agree
Well,
with that. So
she knew that
if
in the
I-
beginning.
Yeah, she knew that.
I want to
We
say
knew
something
it,
really
but she
quick.
didn't.
First, okay, maybe I need to review the
Go ahead.
definitions again, but I thought sympathy was more of feeling sorry for someone,
Right.
and
That's what-
empathizing is being able to relate and feel.
That's why I said what
with
I
them.
said.
So,
But you don't
no,
have to
but
have
I
been
think
president
it's
to empathize
okay.
with something.
Yeah, but really quick. So, first, I wanted to say to Mia, I like that, I come from a similar area where I've always considered myself a middle ground conservative or a right-leaning independent, right? And I think it's actually thanks to Trump that our party has become more centralized. So I just wanted to first, I can understand.
empathize with Mia.
I get where you're coming from, but also
You get right.
You could
yeah,
relate.
but
What would be the answer to
empathize.
this?
I don't empathize with Kamala for a few
Right.
reasons. One, going back to what I said, she got the position because of Biden, and she was not the most qualified candidate. He actually chose her to check a box.
Yes.
Which
Right, we
was the
said
race
that. You
box.
said that.
And a female.
Right, and I would
And
love to
she
have
should not
all
be-
different ethnicities of vice president, but she was not the most qualified candidate.
She should not be in the office. I'm sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say
5 things.
no. I was just gonna say really quick.
Something new.
So her and Biden put themselves in the position that they're in now. They opposed all of Trump's border and immigration policies. She had a very fervent view on immigration when she was running for office. She is now picking up the pieces and dealing with the problem that she put herself in. And so really quick, I'm just going to say this from Politico. Months before the election, then Senator Kamala Harris signed on to a letter with fellow Democrats accusing the Trump administration of violating federal law when it took drastic steps in citing the pandemic to close down the Mexican border. Now, after being sworn in as vice president, Harris backs the Biden administrations to keep the border closed under the very same provision, according to two people familiar with her thinking. So everything that she was against Trump doing, they're now doing.
Oh, that's
Because
been
they're in a hole.
No,
So
and she's been flip-flopping on so many issues in her whole career. And I mean, my final word about that, like, why should we feel anything for this person when she's really an imposter, VP?
Right. Okay.
Oh, okay. She's a poor VP.
And I
Right, she's
think
doing a poor
job.
they
Yes.
already knew that President Biden had dementia, and so they were kind of setting it up anyway from the beginning. They were
She's
doing
doing a
I'm
poor
not
job.
saying she's not
I don't care if she
calling
was
the
black. I
shots.
don't care if she's black, white, whatever. She's doing a poor job.
And she jumped at the opportunity.
Right.
Because she jumped at this opportunity. She was so giddy to.
Are we mad at her for doing that though?
Well, she shouldn't be in office.
But are we mad at her for
Or
jumping at the
the
opportunity to be
president
vice
himself.
president?
No, no, that's a good
That's
question.
empathize
That's a
there.
good
But
question.
empathize,
That's a
right.
good question.
I'm
No,
not
That's
mad.
why we
At
don't
the
feel
opportunity.
empathetic.
right. That's what I'm saying. Right. She chose it. She chose her path.
Right.
She chose to do it.
Relate to somebody jumping at the opportunity
Right.
when presented.
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Right.
that part. No, I'm not angry for her. I'm not
That's
angry with
the
her with
bad
that.
thing
No.
Right. She's
I'm
an
not-
opportunist. She's been an opportunist for
Okay.
her entire
Sorry,
career.
she
Wait,
was
one
her
second.
the
One second.
background.
She's been an opportunist her entire career.
Right.
You can definitely check her out as when she was the
Willie Brown.
prosecutor in California. She
She used what she got to get what she wants.
And I'm not mad at it.
It's tough to be empathetic.
Women have been doing that
doesn't
for
have
since time began. She
But
used what she got to get what she
One
wants.
question I would like to ask you all is, of course, we don't agree with her politics.
Right.
Outside of her politics, if you can look at it in this way, do you feel like she is doing her job?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think she's doing a piss poor job.
Okay.
I mean, outside of her politics.
Yeah, outside of her
Yeah.
politics.
So what else
outside of her
is she
policy,
supposed to do?
what else is
Like,
there?
well, that's her job.
I've never seen what her
That's a
husband
good
looks like,
point.
first of all.
Oh, you've seen him probably.
Barely.
Yeah.
Well, she with the mask.
I mean,
on.
what
Barely.
else
So
does
she's
she-
probably
but-
not a good wife.
No, I wouldn't go
else
that
should
far because I don't know.
I mean, I
don't know.
I'm
her.
saying,
Judge
I mean,
them.
they look kind of boring. So, what else is there? Yeah.
I mean, what else is there besides her job that we should be judging her on?
Well,
Good,
we could
right.
look at the task that she's been given. Like, what is she supposed to do as VP, and has she been doing that outside?
Well,
of
the
her
task she was
politics?
given was
We don't
for the
agree,
border
of course.
situation.
Right.
At least right now, she's supposed to be monitoring and handling the border crisis.
And that's a mess.
Right, exactly.
And
Yeah,
I
and-
just see her talking about mask and no mask, and one day she's wearing it, another day she's not, and then but then the border is still open,
right?
And she's not speaking anything. She's not saying anything about that. All she does is she goes to another country and says, "Do not come over."
And she laughs about it.
I was gonna say,
she cackles.
Here's another example,
cackles.
right? So this is from America's Society Council of the Americas.
And we'll end on your
In 2018, Harris was one of just 3 Democratic senators who voted against an immigration bill that would have granted the president $25 billion in wall funding in exchange for establishing a pathway to citizenship for the DACA recipients known as the Dreamers. So most people thought that was a pretty good compromise. We're going to create a path to citizenship for the Dreamers, and we're going to put funding towards the wall. She was one of the only 3 Democrats, all the others went with it, who went against that. She wasn't willing to make that compromise. So she dug herself into this grave, in my opinion.
All right.
And I just noticed your shoes match your dress, Xandria.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Vice President can actually take some styling tips as well. The chucks and pearls didn't go together, but I'm not going to say it.
Oh,
the what?
Yeah, when
chucks
she wears
and
chucks and pearls.
With the blazer and
Just trying to
Again,
be relatable.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
She's tried too hard for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I hope we answered your question, Mia. If you have anything else, please reach out to us like you did. We really appreciate it, and we love to answer viewers' questions or topics you want us to discuss. Please continue to send those in. Again, you can comment on our Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube page at Metro Conservative Media. Like, share, and again, join the conversation. We adore it and we love it. We will check these comments throughout the evening. Again, we're at Twitter at Be More Pop Stars. And you can always email us. Our website is www.metroconservativemedia.com. And you can email me, KJ, at metroconservativemedia to send in your questions. All right. So we are moving right along again with our pop-off segment.
Oh,
yes. So this is a segment where each host answers a question that I give them. They don't know what the question is. They have 30 seconds to answer this question. So we'll pop off right now. So the first question is about former President Obama had a big birthday bash this weekend. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. He had a huge birthday bash. It was supposed to be, I think, 500 people before. They kind of scaled it down due to the 400 variant. Right.
450.
Yeah.
And that's not including the help.
Right. So they had the Delta variant came out. So they claimed they scaled it down, and they had a COVID-19 director to make sure everyone was vaccinated. So they claim, and it was in a tent. It was in a tent in upper state New York, I think.
It was in Massachusetts.
Okay, Massachusetts. All right. So question is, again, this is a huge event. Some people are saying that the Obamas are being elitist hypocrites for having this event when they push precautions in regards to the COVID vaccine. Democrats have been pushing masking. They have been pushing vaccinations, mandated vaccinations. They've been talking about super spreader events. So my question is for T. Are they being elitist hypocrites with this party, or did they take proper precautions to hold this massive party?
I definitely think they're being hypocrites because they're the ones who are leading this agenda with the masks and everything. Personally, was it an outdoor party?
It was under a tent.
Outdoor tent.
I mean, I guess, personally, and for people who don't wear masks, no, we love to party without our masks. But if you're going to preach something, you need to stick with whatever you preach. Practice what you preach. So the Obamas, I heard y'all can throw nice parties, but if you're going to wear masks, you're going to tell us to wear masks, you need to wear masks as well.
All right. Next question. Indiana Senator Mike Braun said from the Senate floor, the founders never intended the federal government to grow this to this size. So he's a conservative, and we don't like to see large government. But then radio host Dean Abdallah responded on Twitter and said the founders only intended on allowing white men who own property to vote. The founders enshrined slavery in the original Constitution with the Fugitive Slave Clause and the 3/5 Compromise. So does GOP Senator Braun want to go back to slavery and white men only voting too? So he's kind of making a comparison. Shelly, what are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, the founders did have, they wanted limited government. The whole idea was that the people would be the in charge of their lives, not the government. Number one, the government gets its authority from the consent of the governed. Okay, but I want to talk about this 3/5 compromise very quickly, because a lot of people have this, and I used to think this until I read more about it, and I've listened to Dr. Carol Swain on this. This 3/5 compromise was not that Black people were counted as 3/5 of a person. It was to prevent the South from using all their slaves and counting each one of them. So the idea was that to only give them 3/5 of the lot of their slaves, the weight, so that they would not have the votes to overturn or to stop slavery from being abolished.
That makes sense, because I always figured, like, how you can be a 3/5 of a person anyway, but
right. But if each person was not counted as one, because that would give the South more, the numbers. So you count it as 3/5. So no, they don't have the weight and the numbers of those people. Talk to or listen to Dr. Carol Swain on that for more information.
Okay, but his basis or point about this was saying, you say, talk about the founders want this, but then they did some things that he claims don't make sense.
So I'm going to end on this quote, and it's not my quote, of course, that's why it's a quote, but the bigger the government, the smaller the citizen.
Okay. All right, next.
Period.
All right. Next thing. So Nick Cannon has been in the news. If you don't know, he's an actor. He was the host of America's Got Talent. He's a musician. He has quite a large family. He has 7 children by 4 different women. He caught some flack about it lately, saying, what are you doing? Why are you having all these kids and you're not marrying these women and you have all these baby mamas? Mm-hmm. But he has a pretty good rebuttal. I don't know if good, but interesting rebuttal. He says that's a Eurocentric concept. He says, when you think about the ideas, like you're supposed to have this one person for the rest of your life, and really that's just to classify property when you think about it. I have no ownership over this person. He shared, insisting that he never subscribed to that mentality. He says, we're so indoctrinated into like those women, and all women are the ones that so he says women open themselves up to him. And
literally.
So he said, I would like to allow this man they say I would like to allow this man in my world, and I will birth this child. So it ain't my decision. I'm following suit. So my question is, his thinking on marriage, this being Eurocentric, in that marriage is sort of about ownership of someone. Xandria, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel marriage is based off of ownership, or what do you think about where he says it's a Eurocentric concept of classifying property?
So he's a polygamist.
Yeah,
but he's not married. Yeah,
a harem.
Let her speak. That was 30 seconds.
I definitely don't agree with him. I mean, I would say, my view, first of all, is most important are the kids. Are they all being cared for? Is he being a good dad to them? Is he in their lives? I hope he is, to an extent. But when somebody has the mentality, he's pretty much excusing himself and being like, oh, I'm just gonna hook up with whoever I want, and whatever's gonna happen. Like, to me, that sounds like a guy that's not loyal. I would not want to be with a person like that. So, I believe in relationships being like a loyal experience where you both mutually want to be together.
Okay. But what about the concept of marriage? And he's saying that's about ownership.
I definitely don't agree with that. Okay. I don't feel like either of my parents feel like they own one another. They're a team.
Okay.
And it's about love, not ownership. So.
All right.
How you didn't give me that one?
Yana, right. And the last question I have, of course, would be for you, Yana. Lamar Jackson, he's been in the news. He's refused. Well, we don't know. I don't think he's come out and said he's not vaccinated, but he said he's not vaccinated. And so he's a player for the Ravens, and he has to take tests every week regarding this. So my question to you, Yana, is, we don't really know his political persuasion, whether he's conservative or liberal or Republican or Democrat, but has the vaccine choice versus mandate been politicized? Or do you think that it is something that's strictly certain people get vaccinated that are Democrats, and ones who don't get vaccinated are Republicans?
Well, actually, I think that right now is starting to kind of even out between the Republicans and Democrats. I actually think that there are more Democrats that are starting to see that there's a lot of inconsistencies with the vaccine. And also, there might also, Democrats might be pretty diverse as well. There's some people in the that normally support Democrats, but then they do not support this part. They also see that this vaccine may not be good for them. Also, this is ridiculous that he's the only one that needs to get tested when we see that so many people who are vaccinated are getting COVID now.
The Delta. And
we see countries that have almost 100% vaccination rate, like Israel, shutting down because they have a COVID spike. And so I don't see, it's ridiculous to me that he is being singled out, like he is the one who's gonna, infect everybody, when it's now is known that it's the vaccinated that are also spreading.
All right. And then we just go through this last year. We really came to the conclusion that if you're asymptomatic, there's no need to continuously have all these tests. That only, it kind of proliferates with the testing. It overtaxes the system. It gives a lot of false positives. We had already determined that if you're asymptomatic, there's no need to go and get testing.
There's also people that are stopping after they get the first vaccine. They got freaked out by whatever effects they had, and they're not moving forward.
Yeah, but is it politicized? So
absolutely.
Is it something
it is in some way, but I'm hoping that there are more people that are waking up to this and not just Republicans. So I'm hoping that people are seeing that there's inconsistencies in the science and that they need to look into it themselves and stop listening to just one side, listen to everybody.
All right. Again, if you have a question that you want us to answer, please post it in the comments or email us. You can email me at kj@metroconservativemedia.com. Please continue to comment with us tonight and like and share this video. We definitely appreciate the support. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook and Twitter at Metro Conservative Media. All right. So again, we are on to our final topic of the evening, talking about church.
Let the church say amen.
Yes. So
hallelujah.
We are talking about church. And when I say that, we're not talking about one particular church, but faith-based institutions, I would say, faith-based. So we want to talk about the role of faith-based institutions, and are they still leading us down a moral, biblical, or whatever, I guess, book that faith. When I say faith-based, I guess we can talk about Muslims, the Quran.
It's a moral path.
Yeah. Are they leading us down this path, or are they, for lack of a better word, selling out? Are they selling out and going towards making money and entertainment and going off the beaten path of whatever doctrine that they're pushing, and just in hope and in favor of pop culture? What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. I think the church at large is about making money. The church is a business. It's entertaining. A lot of people are pastors. Becoming a pastor is as easy as getting a high school diploma, except for in Baltimore City. But and I think it's about making money. Again, now that may sound like to some of you that I'm anti-church or anti-religion. No, it's not. That doesn't mean at all. It means that I can think and still have two different opinions, and they can both have some equal weight to them. So that's that. But the church, a lot of these pastors, they are about their book sales, their music, and the music industry is a $5+ billion, just the music itself. $5+ billion industry, Christian music, and that's all different categories: gospel, contemporary, traditional, things like that. It's about business and making money, entertaining the people, not necessarily teaching them and giving them doctrine.
So let me ask you this really quickly. So do you belong to church? Are you a churchgoer?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes.
I know. What's that mean? Do you belong
sometimes I go, sometimes I don't.
I know, but do you belong? Are you a member?
Yes.
Do you have a membership?
Yes.
Okay. So,
and that's another thing we're gonna talk about. We can talk about that later. We can talk about that later about being a member of a church. We can talk, but yeah.
So I'm just. I mean, so you consider yourself a member? You go to a church?
I go to a church sometimes I go, sometimes I don't.
But you are a member, or no?
I go to church. Go ahead. Finish your question.
Do you believe
what does a member mean?
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah,
do you
that's my point. Right.
No. Do you belong? What organization do you belong to? Do you have an organization that you belong to?
And go ahead. And then what's your question?
Just random, like I don't know. What's an organization?
Yeah, like a sport. Oh, yeah, but then what's your question though?
My question, a membership. I mean, we all know the definition of membership.
Yeah, but when it comes to church, what makes you a member?
Churches have official membership.
And what is your question? Okay, they have official membership. But what are they doing with those members?
No,
what are they doing?
You are a member, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so your take on this then is it in regards to church in general, or because you still belong to a church?
Okay, and I still have an independent brain. I don't have to. There's something.
Wait a minute. Let me just say this. If I am let's say I'm a member of the YMCA. Okay. And so if I'm a member of the YMCA, let's say I pay my dues, I go to the YMCA. Why? And I can say I don't agree with everything in regards to the YMCA, but why would I continue to be a member if I don't agree with the organization?
You just answered your question and you negated your question. Because I don't have to agree with everything at a church that I attend or I am a member of. I don't have to agree. That does not mean that they don't do any good. That doesn't mean they don't do any good. It doesn't mean I'm saying go out and blow up churches either. That's not what I'm saying. No, I did not say that. You didn't hear me say that. No. I didn't say that.
They are a business. But
they are a business.
But do you agree with this then?
Agree with them being a business?
No, I mean, do you agree with the role of church in general?
The role of church is so convoluted. I don't think many people know what it is.
It's basically, mainly in my opinion, because I've been in church ever since I grew up in the church.
Are you still in church?
No. Southern Pentecostal church in the South.
And why did you decide to leave?
I decided to leave because there were too many traditions and things that people were putting in that weren't even biblical. Mm-hmm. And
so you decided to leave altogether.
Based off of, people's own interpretations. And I believe that churches or the pastors have some type of control, or it's all about their control that they want on the people. Don't go to the other church on Sundays. Don't go to, don't wear this, don't do that. It's so much control that's not even really based in morality or values. It's based in what they want to do to keep you where they can keep you to get your money. And a lot of these single women are there because I'm going to put that plug in. A lot of these single women are in these churches and they can't get a husband because pastor said this and pastor said that. But pastor he just trying to get your money, says. So be on guard for that.
God gave us 10 commands.
Fortunately,
and man added the 2
coming out of the church.
Couldn't keep the 10. How are we going to keep the rest of them?
And I do not know too much about what's going on inside the churches.
You don't ever go to church? Oh, they don't have churches in Russia?
Are you a member of a church?
No. Okay. But I don't mind going and I don't mind listening. And so I go to any church, really.
Right, okay.
And but what I'm noticing, like I drive around and I observe
every church.
I see, in my opinion, many churches kind of lost standards. Mm-hmm. So I see I read their little signs, and it says, come as you are, like wear pajamas, wear sweats. And I feel like, they're just trying to get anybody in. And there's no standard whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I feel like a church is supposed to be something, that elevates people's moral character and not just, come and hang out and, as you are. And then it seems like preachers, they preach without like God in mind. And also one thing that I noticed, I think it started, I think last month, but I still see on some church signs. Like I saw this one church and it says they have a gay pride flag. And besides that, they wrote "God loves love," next to the flag. So I'm like, what are you saying? Like, are you saying God supports this? I mean, it's one thing to say, we're not gonna ostracize anybody from coming into the church. There's nothing wrong with inviting everybody, but to put something like that another Christian will say, you know what, this is not Christian. So I feel like if you're going to put that out there, then don't call yourself a Christian. You'll be more honest than to say, God loves.
Well, let me ask you this. So, so we all know, you are a member of a church, but the rest, and I am a member, because it's good to have a perspective.
I didn't say that. Let's just go. I go sometimes. Okay, go ahead. We off the membership.
I'm sorry. So you're not a member. Oh,
we off the membership.
So, well, I'm a member. I'm a member of a church. So the rest of us are not members of churches. So we kind of can get a consensus that, most of us are, we feel like church on whole, the organizations of church are not working. Is that what we're saying?
What are you saying? My thing is, why is there one on every corner, especially in the Black community? There's a church literally right, it's close into you.
Right. And look at our communities. And look at our communities.
So do you believe church on whole is working or not working? Like they're not doing what their job.
The organization church is not. The biblical church, we're not there right now.
Right.
So far from what the biblical church says. But
these churches that are,
I just want them to be honest. I just want them to be honest and clear. We are about entertaining and we're a business, but we are not about XYZ. Just be honest. Don't convolute it and make people think that you're one thing when you're not. Just be clear.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think churches have always been businesses for as long as they've existed. Social media has enhanced their ability to become entertainment and to make more money.
Social media.
They were always businesses. I mean, people donate generous contributions. There's no accounting when they're passing the bucket. There's no accountant checking off.
Sister Johnson in the back. After the collection,
the first lady's crew.
She doesn't know how much every person put in.
Oh yes, they do. Oh yes, they do. You have envelopes.
How do you know this though? Have you had any?
I used to go to church.
Oh, that's what I'm asking. Okay.
They have envelopes with your number on it, so that's how they get.
Now some of them do that, but also some have the buckets that they just pass. The little baskets that they pass around. People just put in dollars.
And then they have ATMs too.
They're also tax exempt. Okay, churches are pretty much technically tax exempt. I think there are pastors that are trying to promote their church true to their word, and then there's definitely people that are monetizing off of it and profiting it. And I did used to go to church. I used to go to Catholic church when I was a kid. Then I went to communion, did not do confirmation.
Did that.
Then eventually went to Christian churches. Went to my college. I went to University of Maryland. They had different Christian organizations. They all have different feels. Honestly, many of the different church, I would not consider myself religious anymore. I'd consider myself more agnostic.
Okay.
But one of the things that I always thought about the different churches was they became cultish very quickly. All of a sudden, everybody exiting the church, they're all, and there's nothing wrong with meeting your significant other in church, but it just always everybody paired up and got married super early. And, there was just this energy and this feel that I didn't like. And being a college student, or even in high school, I felt like cliques even formed in the churches.
So they do. That's not a feeling. That's the truth.
Nothing really wrong with that. It's a club. It's a religious club. And
fellowship together.
Even if it elevates people, if the club is doing its job properly, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But people, who are concerned about the church should fix, whatever issue that.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Well, and I was gonna say something that's why, it came to me when you were talking about that it became a corrupt business. That's why, when Jesus went into the temple, he kicked out all these merchants. He was very angry. So that's why the Christians, should get angry over, this monetizing
exploitation. It is.
So that's the question. That's the next question. So, I mean, we have a consensus here that most people here don't believe church is not working. And when I say church in general, the church is not working. So do you think, as we've kind of put forth about the school system, do you think that people should not go to church?
No, people can choose to go to church. There is some good. There is some good. I want to go back.
There is some good.
I said that earlier. I said that a few minutes ago.
I
said that a few minutes ago.
So you don't
I did. I already answered that question.
So you don't think
I already answered that question.
You're asking as a whole.
Right. As a whole,
I already answered that.
So
No.
you're saying there are certain good churches
that are
and continue to support
Yeah,
those churches.
but
in
Xandria made a good
general-
point.
in
She said,
general-
"Well, I want to elaborate a little bit. You said you're agnostic. Where I am right now, I wholeheartedly believe in God. I am agnostic on organized religion.
Yeah,
Okay.
same. We have a comment.
Oh, sure.
So Kel says, so many pastors are getting caught up in marital affairs and such. I mean, we can't really, and that's the thing, you can't really look at pastors as like the almighty. They're people too. And I know sometimes they can have a good message, but they still have, this little thing that they gotta deal with on the side. And a lot of times women are attracted to men of power and the status. So they're gonna probably show a couple of legs or so at the pastors. And, most are men, and men are, weak sometimes.
Well, look, Jamal Bryant is a popular pastor. He was here in Baltimore. He was a popular pastor, had been known, I guess, to have several babies by different women other than his wife. They went on to have a popular show, right? The Real Housewives or something or whatever. Yeah, I mean, his wife at the time. Yeah, I think they're divorced. But my point is that this was not poo-poo, right? He gained attention and prominence. He was not removed from his pulpit. I mean, people in his church supported that. Now, again, you're in the church. Your church. If you have a vote, you can vote however you want. But my point is that at least make it clear. This is not about teaching doctrine. This is about me, in this case, Jamal Bryant, becoming rich and famous and whatever else, and his wife too. At that point.
Their followers aren't going to leave.
There's no standards anymore. Like if something like this is going on, and the people in that church community are not even trying to push him out or even tell him to resign, then there are no standards. It is just a social club.
All right.
Wait, can you repeat the comment that he said one more time? I had another thought that I won't share my view on it, but essentially,
so many pastors are getting caught up in marital affairs.
So I was just gonna make the point. I won't get into my deep thoughts on it, but Catholicism, essentially, like I've always taken issue with this idea that the priest can't get married. The reason, if you don't notice, like most of the priests are gay. I mean, there's a reason that they, can't get married.
Let me just make sure I understand. So you're saying most Catholic priests are gay?
I'm not saying most, but many are.
Many Catholic priests are gay.
Many have been historically. And I don't care if somebody's LGBT at all. And I don't think that they shouldn't be accepted in the church either. But I'm just saying, like, that kind of goes back to part of my views and, why I believe what I believe is just I take issue with the way people interpret the Bible and then put that out.
Okay.
Yeah, they interpret it conveniently for themselves.
We have run out of time. We can go on and on regarding this topic. I'm actually a member of a church, and I haven't given up on church. I do have some.
And we should.
Right.
Yeah,
I definitely.
If we see any issues, we should fix it.
Right. Exactly. So that's what I would say.
We should definitely focus on the Nicene Creed and the organization of the church by Constantine.
Clarity is our friend here.
Learn the history.
Right.
Also.
Well, like I said, I mean, I'm a member of a church. I'm a proud member of a church. I love my church. I love my pastor. And I think it's important to just focus on the word. If you are a Christian or a believer, focus on the word. And if you are in a church that you are unhappy with, leave. So that ends this show today.
Who are they going to get their money to?
Go to another church. Not all churches are corrupt. Not all churches are focused on. I know, but I'm saying not all. That's what you asked me. What would they do? I say leave and go to another church. So that's just my opinion. But again,
KJ gets the last word.
We are ending the show. Please continue to watch us. Again, you can join the conversation by leaving a comment on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Follow us at Metro Conservative Media for more great content and notifications of new videos. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so thanks again. Thanks for watching and have a great night. Good night.